That is Rick Ucchino. I am Kev Kellam. This is the InSide Kradle, the deepest dive weekly from Sportskeeda Wrestling. We will go into some big topics. Normally our shows are 20 to 30 minutes, right? Weekdays with
What
top
universe
story.
are you? We're always going out 90 minutes. What are you talking about?
Well, InSide Kradle, we go even deeper, and we have a lot to discuss this week. The
Oh,
unfortunate situation with Jeff Hardy. He has been unceremoniously let go from WWE. And this is at a time when we're just about to enter WrestleMania season, and you're losing a big name and a big baby face. Plus, what is the future of Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano? It seems like by the day, their status with WWE is either they're sticking or they're leaving. And we'll get into the most recent updates on that. Plus, moves in AEW with a memeified darling that will make his wrestling debut. And everyone thinks
don't say his name out loud, or SP3 will pop out of nowhere and start screaming his name. Don't do it.
We'll get into all this, so much more. Rick has some rants about specific people on Monday Night Raw that we're going to share. All right, ranting will be heard, it will be seen, it will be felt. This is the InSide Kradle.
Watch out! Watch out! Watch out! Watch out!
I don't want to rant. I don't want. I mean, I could. I've been pushed off the cliff before, but I just have questions. That's all. I have questions.
You're gonna rant. Yeah,
probably.
Yes. All right. So let's get into our leadoff story. I did do breaking news about this while I was on the radio. An unfortunate scenario has played out.
Double dipping son of a. No, I'm kidding.
Dude, come on. It's all that people are talking about, all right? So we got to get into this. Jeff Hardy has been reportedly released by WWE. At this time, while we're taping this, he has not put out a statement, and neither has the WWE made an official statement, though the source in this is quite reliable. Sean Rossap, the king of scoops, Millennial Meltzer himself, has reported this news. And adding to it, this plays into stuff that happened this past weekend, where Jeff was on a show with WWE live event in Edinburgh, Texas. He's in a 6-man main event. Looks very, very sluggish in the ring. At one point, is laying down in the apron when he's not active in the match. And at one point, gets off the apron and tries to make his way through the crowd. And then security helps him get backstage. And he is no longer on the next night's WWE live event on that loop of the tour, replaced by Rey Mysterio. So, Jeff Hardy today reportedly released by the company. Sapp adding to this that he was offered rehabilitative treatment but denied it, and then he was released for that kind of correspondence. I mean, if you're a wrestling fan of any, around 10 years, Jeff Hardy's had a history of substance abuse problems, which have forced him to be in certain states of non-health and have affected his career in WWE. And of course, obviously in TNA Impact Wrestling, the awful moment 2011 with him and Sting in a match where he clearly shouldn't even been in the ring. And that was the main event of a pay-per-view that people paid money for. And this was a 6-man match where it was noticeable something was wrong. But before
we saw the clips of because he was teaming with Drew McIntyre and Xavier Woods, and we saw the clip of Drew standing in the ring after they had won the match, and he's like starting to do the Jeff Hardy dance, and he's like, where did Jeff go? Where is Jeff? So obviously this was something that was not planned. It was altered. Got to catch a little bit of Sean Rossap's report today. No confirmation that Jeff was under the influence during this match. So very important to get that out there, that there is no confirmation that he was under the influence of any substance or alcohol in this match, at least at this time. But clearly something was off. And that's the best way to describe it, is that, Jeff in the middle of a match, for whatever reason, decided to get up, go into the crowd, and start taking photos and this, that, and the other thing, and security helped to the back, and he basically left the area. So obviously something is going on with Jeff right now. And the thing that bothers me about this is, like, I see people on social media who are like celebrating when he got released, like, oh yeah, man, he can go to AEW now, man, he can reunite with Matt, this is gonna be awesome. It's like, guys, stop. Pump the brakes on all of that. I don't care if Jeff Hardy ever gets in another ring again. I really don't. I want Jeff to be okay. Whatever is going on with him personally, mentally, having an addiction is a bitch. All right. This is something that you will always constantly fight throughout your life. It can sneak up on you at any time. So I just want Jeff to be okay. That's first and foremost. He's been released by WWE. It sucks, especially for those of us who grew up watching Jeff. Jeff's one of my guys. I've told this story a million times. I grew up watching him and Edge and Christian and Matt Hardy and the Dudleys and that whole area, watching these guys blossom into main event level superstars. One of the best days of my life as a young wrestling fan is when Jeff Hardy won that WWE championship finally for the first time. You know, I popped just like everybody else did when they came back at WrestleMania and the roof blew off the joint, right? Like, we all love Jeff Hardy. He's an icon in this industry, and we appreciate everything that he's done in this business. I don't care if he ever wrestles again. I just want him to be okay first and foremost. So I don't want to see AEW pick him up in a month or two or next week or whatever. I don't want him to sign anywhere until he's fine. He's good to go. And we've heard from Matt Hardy that says, you know, as Matt Hardy said before his release, that he's good, relatively speaking. I don't know what that means. That, you know, good for Jeff Hardy may not necessarily be good. You know, we don't know. But obviously there's something going on. He's no longer with WWE. It's a shit situation all around. And yeah, there really shouldn't be any kind of celebrating at all.
Jeff has an issue to statement. Obviously, WWE hasn't put one out yet, but his wife has. Beth Hardy tweeting out the following: Jeff is good. We are good. Post that you, quote, heard that. Thanks. Peace sign. So, I mean, fairly informative, but not revealing much there.
Yeah.
And that kind of follows up a lot of different things here. I mean, the thing worth noting here is we'll take Sapp at his word on this report that WWE was concerned, rightfully concerned. You know,
yeah.
There's no way to spin this, and I know the speculation is relapse and all these different things. We don't know, as you already stated, but something is worth noting, and why I think WWE, you can't blast WWE for this. This isn't like those other releases this year, you know, because you had a guy who was in a 6-man match, right? So that's 5 other people, all right, that he's performing with in a ring, wrestling. Okay, something he's done for a very, very long time. But he is in no state to perform, and that's kind of obvious. Now, if he got in the ring and he's got to put someone up for a move, and he's not all there, what happens?
Yeah,
you know, what happens?
That's a problem.
And you have somebody then who becomes a liability, and you have to reevaluate that person's status performing with you, and then reevaluate their health. You know, it's worth noting he was thankfully out of that match and not in a situation where had to get on a top rope, you know, had to put someone up on a top rope, had to dive through the ropes, nothing like that.
Yeah, he didn't do much in this match.
No,
at all. Thankfully, if something was indeed off, which many believe it was, there was something off with Jeff Hardy then.
So you have that happen, and I think rushing to the conclusion that he's going to go anywhere else is silly, and just
that should not be.
You're not treating him like a person. You're treating him like a name on a screen. You know?
Right. That's not the conversation surrounding Jeff Hardy today. Again, I hope he's all right. I hope he gets the help he needs. I hope that he is able to battle these demons that he has internally. You know, addiction. We all have our vices and our demons and things.
Maybe there's a whole other issue here that we're not aware of.
Exactly. There could be. Very well could be.
And it could be a massive miscommunication. And he's like, no, that wasn't the problem, you know? And it's worth noting, WWE is still drug testing people, you know? How frequently they do that isn't clear, you know? And when they do that isn't clear, but they do it pretty aggressively. I can tell you that from talking to people that wrestle for them. And so, you know, Jeff probably had a battery of different tests in the last few months. Did he have one that day? You know, that's not clear. But it's sad because, you know, he was in such a brighter, more on grasp of where he was in life and professionally, despite even Matt being out of the picture and leaving for All Elite. And he was still also, you know, it's worth noting, like, this guy was getting huge pops, huge reactions recently on WWE. And if you would have told me he was in a title program in the next few months with Roman Reigns, would have made complete sense.
And I think that's where everybody wanted it to go. I mean, if you look, even going back, I think he was in a dark match maybe when I was at Raw in Cincinnati, or it was Cleveland. I can't remember. I was at 3 different shows this year in 3 different cities where Jeff Hardy was on the card. And that guy was over. Loudest pops of the night, period. I was at Extreme Rules when he was fighting for the United States Championship. That crowd in Columbus wanted him to win that championship that night. They did. Damian Priest, he wasn't the guy that was over in that match. It was Jeff Hardy. There were, when you look at the landscape of SmackDown after the draft, people were looking at that roster going, okay, well, somebody's got to fight Roman Reigns. They don't have a lot of high-level baby faces, and that's especially on Friday night. And that's the issue for WWE here, is you had a guy that you could call on at any time and step in, a guy who had equity, a guy who's a legend in the business, a former WWE champion, a guy that you could build up real quick, no questions asked. Fans would have been behind him, would have been some of the loudest pops of the night. You could have done a ladder match. You could have recreated his big match with The Undertaker. That's what I was hoping this was leading toward. WWE doesn't have that anymore. They just lost their most over babyface male superstar on SmackDown. Arguably the only one they have left. They have Drew. They have babyface Brock. That's it. So that's the angle from WWE at this point.
But I don't blame them.
I do really thin now.
I do not blame them for doing this.
No, I don't either.
You know, I think when you look at that, especially when you see the video, something's wrong. And then if it's true, he turned down rehab and they wanted to do something, he said no. That's not good either. You know, and there's, you know, and that's surface level speculation too.
Right. This is not me harping on WWE for making this move. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have made the move. This release in and of itself is understandable, justified, as in comparison to the other 200 plus talent that they let go over the last 2 years.
2 different stories.
2 completely different stories. And now WWE has really put themselves in a bind. And I don't think they realize it. Because Kevin, let me ask you a question. What happens if Roman Reigns, God forbid, gets hurt next week? What do you do on SmackDown?
But isn't that the circumstances you're playing with? You know, I mean, that's any wrestling show, that's any sports team, that's any, you know, thing. That's the dice you got to roll as a company too. You know,
I mean, I get it, but they put all of their other main event level talent outside of Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar on Raw, and then a lot of head scratching releases this year. The Bray Wyatts of the world,
gets traded.
Crosses, the Keith
maybe
Lee.
There's some, you know, maybe there's some move here. I addressed this earlier today. Was said, I want to know what spots open up now. Who gets to get more of a shine here? Who benefits from this circumstantially? I think we can talk about that. You know, and I would say the name that comes to mind is Ricochet, in terms of just a high flying babyface that people can get behind, that you know can put on a thrilling match and has, as you said, equity. Ricochet has that, not as much as Jeff Hardy, not claiming that at all. Yeah. But he could do some really special things. I think someone like him could really benefit from that. You know, Shinsuke Nakamura is on TV a lot, but he's treated as kind of like, you know, with Rick Boogs, a comedic character in the mid card. He's holding the Intercontinental title. You know, there's a lot of different people who are north of 30, 35 who they could do some things with. If you want that veteran, high ranking mid card babyface, which by the way, it's good spot. You know, everyone's like, oh, you're at the bottom or you're at the top. You know, up near the middle, not a bad spot to be in WWE. Also, Jeff Hardy leaving WWE during the most profitable time to be a WWE wrestler, from, you know, late December, you know, right up through WrestleMania season. You're making your money. You know, you're selling your merch. You're doing your appearances. You're doing all those extra marketing things where people make money. Your live event money is worth more. Your pay-per-view spots are worth more. You know, you're one of the 30 guys that gets to be in the Royal Rumble. Get a nice little check there. You know, you get to be in even a mid-card match on one of the nights of WrestleMania. You get a good check there. So, you know, there's a hit here on both sides.
I think the guy that makes a ton of sense that you can move over from Monday Night Raw that you're really not doing a whole lot with and immediately make an impact on SmackDown is AJ Styles. I think that is the guy. They already teased a split with Omos this past week on Monday. I know he's had some issues with working on Friday nights in the past. But man, I'll tell you what, you promise him a program with Roman Reigns, who might need a challenger at WrestleMania, depending on how far this thing with Brock goes. He's a guy that could step in right away and still has a main event run in him. He has really kind of been just chilling on the sidelines on Raw, especially because they've been using him to build up Omos, which I completely understand. I mean, think about this. Anytime AJ and Omos have lost, it's AJ who's eating the pin. That's the really weird thing about all of this. It's like remember Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax's team? He's Shayna Baszler of this team. This is AJ Styles, former WWE champion. He can instantly come over and feud with Roman Reigns, and that would be a WrestleMania match that I think people would be excited to see. That's a guy right off the bat. I would have no problem if they turned into a babyface and moved him over Friday nights. And I think that would plug a massive, massive hole for SmackDown now. Because again, this roster for Friday nights, let me just pull it up. It's thin, man. I don't think people realize how thin it is. They've already done Roman and Cesaro, and Cesaro's kind of fallen down into his role. You got Drew McIntyre. All right. I've talked about Drew. I've talked to Drew about battling Roman, and he's like, look, that's something I don't want to rush into. And I don't think it's something the WWE wants to rush into either. King Woods, they had an opportunity there, but they decided to bypass that to go right into Brock. So it looks like they're putting the New Day with the Usos. So that shows you that they don't really plan on having Kofi or Woods or anybody else challenge Roman Reigns after that. You brought up Ricochet. They burned Sami Zayn in about 10 seconds. Maybe there's still some story there.
Sami Zayn serves a role. You know what I mean? He serves a Sami Zayn, his role is not to be a world beater. His role is to be the guy who stirs a pot and aggravates you, and then someone beats him up. Which, by the way, means you're on television a lot.
Yeah, he's
you know what I mean?
He's great. His contract's also up in a couple months. So there's that caveat to it. But I mean, he's a guy that could very easily be booked as a great babyface and in that Daniel Bryan role, that fantastic technical wrestler, the ultimate underdog who finds a way to topple the giants of the world. He could be booked in that role and thrive very, very well at it. But for whatever reason, they don't want to go there. Your other options that you got, and remember that Roman's a heel, so this isn't really going to work out. Sheamus, former WWE champion, that kind of makes some sense. Jinder, former WWE champion, that kind of makes some sense. But neither one of those guys appear to be anywhere close to being booked in that kind of a role. And again, it doesn't make sense going up against Roman right now, unless you do a double turn eventually with him and Brock. So the only other guy you got is Shinsuke Nakamura. The bench is not deep as far as challenges are concerned. And that's why we're getting Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar at day one. And we're probably going to get Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And then after that, I don't know. At this point, if Brock's not the one to take the title off of him, who's going to take the title off of him? It might be Braun Breaker for all we know.
A lot could change between WrestleMania and right now.
That's very true. Very, very true.
So let's get right into it. The topic right now, the big update, Reigns versus Lesnar. Now, this was a big build match a couple of years ago, and then it kind of ran its course. But the roles are completely different. You're getting a completely different Roman Reigns, probably the most over villain in all of professional wrestling. Sorry, All Elite Wrestling fans. You guys cheer your villains. That's a different thing. We're talking about
you know what though?
People cheer Roman Reigns now too, though.
I loved MJF getting cheered in Long Island.
Sure. I get it. Yeah,
that was it's such a fun reversal. Yeah. It was great to see MJF's face light up and he's still an asshole. But he was Long Island's asshole. You know, like, I get where Punk was coming from that. A lot of Islanders references last night. But I get the sports analogy he was talking about with Dennis Rodman, Punk, last night. I get it. Because I went through it with Vontaze Burfict in Cincinnati for the Bengals, man. Like, he was a dirty piece of shit player. But damn it, for 4 years, he was one of the best middle linebackers in football, and he was on my team. So he was my guy. And then the second that he got cut, I was like, fuck that guy. I get it. I understand it. And it made a ton of sense. And that was a really, really fun open last night. And I talked about, with AEW, how I really, really admire that they don't have guys like MJF go out there and shit all over their hometown just because it's the heel thing to do. It's okay to blur the lines every once in a while. And I thought that was really, really fun to see.
Let me reel you back.
Punk reverse.
Let me reel you back here. Brock versus Reigns. This is the match at day one. This will go down in Atlanta, Georgia. WWE trying to position this show as a new big annual event and do it the weekend of do it on New Year's Day, which I think is a very clever, keen, smart move. New Year's Day it's a holiday, but it's not like a big holiday. Everyone's off. What's on TV? You got to have something momentous on television, and they're going to kind of jump into that space with a demand that isn't being filled in the eyes of some people with something special.
Some people, but I mean,
they got bowl games, right? But there's a bunch of bowl games.
That's the big thing. New Year's Six Bowl. That's what New Year's Day is known for. It's known for college football, and this is typically for WWE not something that they try to compete with, which is football.
But this is a perfect pivot to those things, because a lot of those games, and you know this from following sports, a lot of those games, outside of a handful of bowl games, they don't mean a whole lot. They're just kind of like show-offs for people that played college football this year, and maybe they get a look at scouting and all those different things. It has a big sponsor on it, and there's no real consequence to it.
Yeah,
right?
and that's the thing.
They're the Survivor Series of college sports. That's what they are.
Because the semifinals for the college football playoffs, which is something I'm watching very intently as a UC Bearcats fan,
those mean more than like the Tostitos Bowl.
Those are New Year's Eve. Those are the day before day one, which is weird. If those were on New Year's Day and sometime soon, they might be.
Would not want to run. Would not want to run.
Would not want to run it up against. So that's it's very, very interesting. Now, do the bowl games do such great numbers because there's nothing else on? They have no other competition, like the Thanksgiving Day games. Like, Jesus criminy.
40 million people watching those games.
We had the Detroit Lions and freaking Chicago Bears. You know, as a Bears fan, how bad that matchup was. But every TV in America had that tuned
30 million
on.
People watched that game. 30 million. And WWE's not going to get
316 and 1.
No. So WWE's not going to get like 30 million people to watch this on Peacock. But if they get anything near what they are capable of doing, that's really good. And it's a very good pivot here. Now, Reigns and Lesnar, for that mainstream play, it makes sense. It makes sense. And everyone who's saying, I've already seen it. You just did it at Crown Jewel and Roman snuck by. That's what Roman does. The payoff's going to be at WrestleMania. So I do think that is the bad part is this seems like a predictable outcome. But does WWE do something crazy and take the belt off Roman Reigns before the big payoff that everyone thinks is going to happen at WrestleMania? Or do they do it at day one and kind of really throw things on their head here and put the title back on Brock?
That was my thought process. Was we finally get that Heyman turn at day one, and he helps Brock win the title, and maybe we
nearly did it at Crown Jewel, and they did this.
We get a double flip. But here's the thing, man. Brock is so good as a babyface. What Brock Lesnar did with Sami Zayn, as much as I love Sami and want to see him be that babyface underdog who wrestles banger matches, he got like obliterated on Friday, but it was hilarious. Brock Lesnar putting his arm around Sami and looking up to, think about it, kid. You could go far, doing that whole routine and everything. He was hilarious. I'm sitting here going, we got bouncing up and down Brock with Paul Heyman talking for 10 years, and we could have had this MFer. Like, this guy gets it. I understand. This guy's entertaining. He's more than just looking mean and suplexes and F5s. This is a guy with personality. He's still a badass. He's still an asshole, but he's showing us a different side of his personality, his comedy. Great. Not cheesy comedy, not getting hit in the face with a pie comedy, but I'm going to play you. I'm going to whoop your ass later, but I'm going to have some fun before I do it. He was teasing with Sami Zayn like a cat to a mouse. He saw him as a meal that he was about to devour, but he's like, first I'm going to bat you around the living room for a while. It was so fun. I don't want to see a double turn. I don't want Brock Lesnar to go back to being mean mug, jumping up and down, and let Paul Heyman just go, Brock Lesnar, and the crowd, boo. I don't go back to that. So I don't know if Heyman becomes a babyface if that happens. I'm not sure. If they do a double turn, or they just have Brock win the damn belt. Either way, it's a way to keep this going, because Roman Reigns cheating again to beat Brock Lesnar at day one to continue this on to WrestleMania. I don't know if people are going to get into that.
You think it's too long in the tooth?
It's going to get too long in the tooth. You got to do something, but you don't have anything else. You really don't, other than Drew McIntyre, you really don't have any other options at this point. You have not built up anybody else to challenge Roman Reigns at this, unless you move an AJ Styles over. If AJ Styles wins the Royal Rumble this year, that would make a ton of sense. AJ Styles wins the Royal Rumble, and then he goes on to challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Boom.
Someone's getting a rocket tied to their back with the Royal Rumble this year. I'm going to tell you that. Someone.
Unless it's Brock or Roman, which again would be, I think, a lazy choice. You're looking at a field of superstars where somebody needs an elevation. I think a guy like Damian Priest makes a lot of sense to be the Royal Rumble winner this year, depending on who he challenges, depending on who's the WWE champion or Universal champion heading into WrestleMania.
It still makes sense to do Brock versus Lesnar at January 1st. For me, it still makes sense.
It does.
WrestleMania to a degree sort of sells itself because it's Mania, right?
Here's the thing.
I don't like that either. I don't like that.
And that was the report that I believe it was Dave Meltzer who said it, which is why they put it at day one, is because, the Royal Rumble sells itself. That was their mindset with Survivor Series this year. And Survivor Series was, for the most part, not good. They put no effort into that. And that's the problem. If these are your big four pillars, your big four pay-per-views, that doesn't mean you just sit back and say, oh, well, these events sell themselves.
But my thing is, I think they're clearly putting more effort into this day one show in terms of promotion, in terms of creative, in terms of
day one card looks great.
Yeah. I mean, you got a big triple threat with what could be Kevin Owens' last big match with WWE. So there's some things they're putting on here that look valuable on paper. Let's get into this. Other people that have value to WWE on paper. Very emotional nights on WWE NXT and War Games this week, and it played out in the scenario that we've seen kind of develop here for weeks. Johnny Gargano, Johnny Wrestling, one of the pillars of the NXT brand for WWE, as they've gone through this big transition, is still with them. He's helped bring some superstars along, including Austin Theory, who's now featured on Monday Night Raw, Dexter Lumis, Indy Hartwell. And on top of this, him and his wife, Candice LeRae, still signed with WWE, are having a baby, and they'll have the baby in February. Johnny Gargano gets to close out this week's NXT with an emotional promo that kind of alludes to him leaving. And then on top of the, if Kyle O'Reilly, his tag team partner, turns on him, Von Wagner, the man who has a Neanderthal forehead. I've been compared to that. As someone who has a big forehead, I can.
That looks like Mo Sislak.
Yes, he looks like Mo Sislak with muscles.
Yeah.
And so Von Mo Wagner there is
Wagner
beats up Kyle O'Reilly in a cage, right? And slams the door on him. And Gargano's about to kind of tell you a little bit more about what he's going to do. And then, Grayson Waller runs in the ring and hits him with a chair and puts him through a table. And so both guys get sort of written off, but certainly there's something that could be written back into the show. Yeah. So everyone, depends on how you want to take this. This follows up.
It was a really good way, real quick. I think it was a really good way for them to hedge their bets.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Really, really strong way to hedge their bets.
And it's a perfect way for them to hedge their bets too, by the way. So at this point, what we know now is that neither guy has signed a new deal with WWE. They have both been offered multi-year deals at a time when people are getting let go from WWE. WWE says, no, these guys are valuable. Furthermore, word I've heard from people who are involved in wrestling and know Johnny Gargano know that there are aspirations from his camp to have a life in wrestling beyond performing in the ring. And that role would possibly be as a producer or some type of trainer. And there is an infrastructure that WWE has to do that maybe isn't as present in a competing source. There are roles like that. Now, obviously, everyone's thinking these guys are going to All Elite Wrestling. Both these guys have to be going to All Elite Wrestling. That's a rush to.
There are people who are cheering for them to go to All Elite Wrestling. Like it's like, oh, thank God, get the hell out of WWE. It's like, again, it's the tribalism thing. But I've seen people in media who bitch about WWE and like sit here and say, you need to be better, you need to get better, you need to try to be better. And then like these contracts come up with these superstars and they're like, get the hell out of there. Just get the hell out of there. It's like, do you want WWE to be better or do you not? Like what?
Or are you just biased? So when you have that take here, and if it feels like I'm calling out another podcast here, I probably am. There are some outlets that certainly love themselves to beat the drum. A beat that doesn't get old is just put on blinders and say WWE sucks. Like, you know what I mean? Like that type of thing, and just rush into it. And this is a situation where that's really happened because also NXT's gone through a lot of different changes, which are risky, and they're big changes to change that brand and make it into something that creates WrestleMania main eventers in the future.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing I think a lot of people have problems with, is that they loved NXT so much, and NXT was its own brand. But NXT 2.0 is not about building the brand anymore.
It's about creating superstars.
It's about creating the next crop of young superstars. And as much
which
as
is what NXT was supposed to be the entire time.
Correct. Yeah. So now they've gotten back to doing that. To be the farm system for Monday Night Raw and for Friday Night SmackDown. And look, to some of these guys' credit, like, it became on equal footing with Raw and SmackDown because it got so good, because you had people like Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa and Adam Cole that were
so different, and it's presented as such a different show, you know,
right.
And
it was like the Dark Knight of wrestling. Like, it was dank. It looked like that bingo hall type, you know, atmosphere.
I also think of everything in WWE, NXT suffered the most because of the pandemic. They got stuck as having the smallest budget production wise. Sure. They got stuck inside a soundstage, right? So they got limited by that. They had to really go into the full gallop of the Wednesday Night Wars with that. And then you have AEW running these arenas, spending all this extra money on their production. It looks different. It looks bigger. So how is WWE, the biggest wrestling company in the world, getting out? I'm not saying outproduced, just outproduced, you know, in terms of like the look, the feel, all those different things. So you have Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly who weather through the storm. Other people leave. Their deals are up. Here's the latest word. Wrestling Observer, Big Papa Dave Meltzer saying, you know, the word was that they're both out of there. You know, they're both gone. And they haven't signed new deals. Now, it's worth noting Gargano signed a short-term extension to work War Games, which people thought was him doing something in good faith to WWE. Kyle O'Reilly, his deal was just up at a certain time. Yeah. Now they both cut these promos and have this send-off on camera in front of people, not on television, after they cut all the angles and different stuff like that. They're embracing each other. Tommaso Ciampa is posing with Gargano in the ring. Heartbreak Kid is kissing both of them on the head. You know, this is the big send-off, an emotional thing. This is counteractive to something else. Meltzer says some people in WWE are of the thought that those guys aren't going anywhere, that they're going to be with the company for some time or could possibly sign a new deal later in the future. It's worth noting Gargano's going to have this child here in February, so I don't think we're going to see him anytime soon. And Gargano going on the record, even after last night, I still can't put everything I'd like to say into words right now. Just know that I appreciate you all more than I can ever really express. Hope I made you proud. Kyle O'Reilly tweeting out, truly overwhelmed by all the love and heartfelt messages. By no means does this mean goodbye. It just means smell you later. Great Simpsons reference.
Second Simpsons reference to the show. But look, to me, especially with Johnny Gargano's promo, that to me anyway, and I don't know shit. All right, I'm not an insider. I just don't want to be. That to me sounded like a goodbye to NXT, not WWE.
Bingo.
NXT is it's not what Johnny Gargano built. It's a completely different show, and it's not even a cohesive show. Like, people talk about how the show is bad, and to a certain point, I agree with you, because the show just, it seems random. It seems like a bunch of shit thrown together and thrown against the wall, and that's the point. It's not about creating a cohesive show or making it for, you know, like the NXT of the past. It's about putting these superstars out there to work on their gimmicks, work on their craft, get better, and see who becomes a massive star. And it's already working. You're already seeing the fruits of that labor with the likes of Braun Breaker, with the likes of Cameron Grimes, who is in a nice spotlight now. LA Knight is really getting over in NXT. Tony D'Angelo, everybody loves the guy. All right. So it's already working to a certain extent. Everybody's already pegged Braun Breaker as the next can't miss prospect. And I agree. I think that guy's going to be up on the main roster. I'd bring him up today. I'd put him up. I'd have him go into the Royal Rumble and end up on freaking Friday Night SmackDown right now. He'd probably be your top baby face in a heartbeat. He's ready. He's 24. He's young. He's an effing Steiner.
He's 24.
Yes, if he's not, he's been wrestling since June. If this guy ain't the next Randy Orton, I don't know who is. And I don't know Randy Orton as in a sense of the same style as Randy Orton, because clearly that's not the case. but the same pedigree as a Randy Orton. Like this guy's a freaking home run. That's the point of the show, is to build the next generation of young stars. And Johnny Gargano sees that. He sees that this isn't the NXT that he built. He sees that this isn't the NXT of old. And that's what he said, all good things must come to an end. Yes, that NXT, the gold and black brand, that had a fantastic run, and we're all going to miss it. And that's why people hate NXT 2.0, is because it's not NXT 1.0. But look, WWE, they told you. It's the next wave, and Johnny knows that. So he's always been about NXT. He is NXT. He's the heart and soul of NXT. Well, that NXT doesn't exist anymore. So that was him saying goodbye to NXT. Yep. Could he go to AEW? Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think he's made up his mind yet. No. Again, I don't know that for sure, but that sounded like a guy who had not made up his mind yet. And could very easily,
like I've said this before, when anyone's contract comes up, and I'll say this with Kevin Owens, I mean, obviously everyone's like, oh, it's creative freedom, it's all these different things, but I don't think it's the best scenario for everyone to go there. It just isn't. Because then you just become, all right, well, we're just going to become another, it's a surface level observation. We just become another version of WWE. Look, we let everyone do whatever they want, right? But there's no way you do that and a big name doesn't fall through the cracks and doesn't feel as big as they were. Because the wheel at AEW spins real hard. Like, just as you see it now, and I don't think people like that. They're starting to see it now where it's starting to turn some people out. You're starting to see some people that came in there when they came in 2019 that are not a part of the picture, that are not big players, that are not involved in any ongoing storyline. And if I told you a Brian Cage, former Impact World Champion, who came there with the world behind him and was featured with Jon Moxley right away, was let go by AEW or left the company, you'd be like, oh, okay. Like Joey Janela came in there, was a part of the big press conference with Chris Jericho the night they announced it. If he was let go, you'd be like, okay, Sonny Kiss. Supposed to be this great, wonderful, inclusive character that's going to be the first real presented, serious, gay male professional wrestler on television. That was something you fans were hoping for. Hasn't happened, And those are just a handful of things. Awesome Kong, health stuff, right? I'm not putting it on AEW. I'm not doing that. But this is the churn. I don't think the churn is something that Gargano wants to hop into a company. Oh, I have friends there, but what is the company like? So, I mean, that's worth noting here. On top of that, I think Gargano could go to WWE on Raw or SmackDown and have some fresh matchups and do some big, big things. Kyle O'Reilly, though, I'm more inclined to think that All Elite Wrestling is where he wants to be in terms of the style, the presentation, different things like that. Gargano has evolved into more of a sports entertainment player who can give you the work rate, can give you the 5-star match.
Gargano is one of the most entertaining guys in WWE. Mm-hmm. They just got to trust him and let him be him. Now, whether or not they'll do that on the main roster, that remains to be seen. Because that seems to be the biggest issue with WWE is,
and we could be wrong. They could show up in All Elite Wrestling in a few weeks. How
they could have showed up last night. Well, actually, I think their contracts expire in a couple of days. They could be at Winter's Coming next week. They really could be. Really looking forward to that. We'll recap that.
And any All Elite mark is just frothing at the mouth just to have the moment and the payoff. But as they start to have more people jump, and this is the pressure that All Elite has created for themselves. This is a good problem to have. Is how many hot debuts can you do and keep the momentum? Keep the momentum. You naturally have to cool some guys down. You naturally have to do it.
We've seen it with Andrade. We've seen it with Malachi.
Literally, he got a little hot last week. He got put through fire, but that's a whole other.
We've seen it with Christian. Christian seems to be more of a managerial type with Jurassic Express, and that's fine. Matt Hardy. Yeah, man. There's a lot of these guys that they brought in, and then all of a sudden, now they're down on the lower end of the card. Mm-hmm. If I had to bet a meaningful amount of money to me, I'd say Kyle O'Reilly ends up going to AEW. He'll join up with Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and they'll have a mini, Undisputed Era, all, super click group thing going on there. And that'd be fine. But I think Johnny Gargano's coming back. I really do. I get the feeling that Gargano's coming back to WWE. Maybe he goes into NXT for a little bit, but I think sooner rather than later, he's going to end up on the main roster. I really, really do. And I could be completely wrong and end up putting my foot in my mouth in a week. or 2. I don't think we're going to see him back. I don't think we're going to see him back until maybe the night after WrestleMania.
Perfect time to come back.
February 4th.
Perfect time.
Show up on Raw. Maybe after Roman Reigns retains the Universal title or Big E retains the WWE Championship, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, I need a new challenger. There you go. There's Johnny Gargano showing up. So,
all right, Rick, are you ready to rant, Rick?
I don't know if I have it in me today, but yeah, go ahead. Try to piss me off.
All right, this week, Rick's rant is on someone he's interviewed, someone who's fond of the character. All right, it's a completely biased take here. Rick, get ready to rant. You don't know what you're ranting about, but I'm going to put it on screen, and I know you have a take on it. This is an unprepared. I'm going to put you on the spot, and you're going to go off. Rick's rant this week. Nikki A.S.H. Tell me about Nikki A.S.H.
Spelled her name wrong.
Well, I'm typing it quickly. Tell me about Nikki A.S.H.
That's what I'm going to rant on. Nikki. There you go. Yeah, I don't know what the hell they're doing with her. It's kind of mind-boggling what they've done over the last several weeks. You know, we've heard her get dogged on commentary, which I know Corey Graves has taken some heat for stuff he said, but it's a character. All right. It is a character. People do have to recognize that he is playing that Jerry Lawler role. Speaking of Jerry Lawler, we'll get to that in a minute. But you know, she's getting put down on commentary. She's being talked about as the weak link to Rhea Ripley. Anytime they lose as a tag team, it's Nikki A.S.H. who's getting pinned. Hell, she's getting pinned inside of 2-3 minutes to superstars that she was beating months ago. By the way, let's not forget, she was your Raw Women's Champion heading into SummerSlam. Had a fantastic match at SummerSlam. Had some really, really great matches. Doing some of her best work ever heading into Raw. Or heading into SummerSlam on Monday Night Raw as the Raw Women's Champion. Has this really fun character that you could be doing a lot of really interesting things with, a lot of fun, quirky things with, you know, like Hurricane Helms used to do back in the day. I'm not saying she has to be Hurricane Helms, but that's a fun character. There's a lot of avenues, especially merchandise opportunities with a character like that in today's comic book loving world. There's so many great things you could be doing. Interesting dynamics and exploring with Nikki and Rhea. And instead, over the last few months, they put the tag titles on them. They split up the entire division. They don't have anybody to defend against. They park them on the bench and watch John Morrison meditate for 3 straight weeks. Then they shuffle the rosters up. They put Carmella and Queen Zelina together. Their first challenge is a tag team, and they immediately drop the belts to them. And then Nikki loses again, and she loses again, and she loses again, and she loses again. And now this week, I'm supposed to believe that some mid-20s, early 30s fangirl backstage is swooning over Jerry effing Lawler and has no clue who Nikki A.S.H. is. I'm supposed to believe that. And now the report out of Dave Meltzer is, oh, well, they're making her lose and they're dogging her and this, that, and the other thing to build up sympathy. They want you to feel sorry for Nikki. They want you to feel really sorry for Nikki. And I'm sitting back here going, fuck that. Pardon my French. But fuck that. Why do we do this? Why are you? Is it because she's 5 foot tall? Like, what is it? Is it because she's smaller than some of her other competition? I know WWE Creative, namely Vince, loves bigger the better, with the superstars. I understand that. But in a bubble, Nikki A.S.H. is one of the most talented women you have on the roster, in the ring, on the microphone. She's a bubbly personality. People love her already. Just let her flourish with the character. Do some fun stuff. Have her running around backstage actually trying to fight crime. Do something quirky that could let her showcase her personality. Why are you just taking a massive shit on her to build sympathy? They've done this for years with characters, and it hardly ever works. It just tells the audience that you don't give a shit about the characters. Why? Doesn't make any sense to me. There's my mini rant. I love Nikki so much. She's so damn talented. She deserves better than this. Well, we're constantly going to make her lose, and we're going to belittle her on TV. Yeah, what are you going to do next week? Are you going to have somebody just dump oatmeal on her head? Like, what are you going to do?
I challenge both of you that are watching right now. Yes, both of you. To hit up Rick and I on the social medias. You can follow him at Rick Ucchino on Twitter. You can follow me at Kev Kellam, KEVKELLAM, and tell us who you want to see pushed more in WWE and AEW, especially going into the big playoff season that is WrestleMania in this time of year. Who do you want to see pushed more? Let us know, and we'll retweet your best comments here. So definitely hit us up here, and spread the word. If you listen to us for 45 minutes, clearly you're enjoying yourself, right? So why don't you share the link so you don't stink here? Let's get into another big match. I know you have
real quick. You know what I'd love to see with Nikki Cross? I would love, first off, they should still be tag team champions, right? I would love to see her trying to bring along Rhea Ripley as her sidekick. That's the angle that you should be taking here. If you want to take this, instead of just flat out saying that Nikki's weaker than Ripley and, Ripley's so much better and she's so beyond the class of Nikki Cross. Instead of doing that, why don't you do something fun where Nikki is trying to get Rhea to be an almost superhero with her, to hide her identity, to wear some kind of crazy costume. Like in backstage, she's got like a, Rhea's like 5'6" or whatever. She looks like she's 8 foot tall next to next to Nikki. But Nikki's got this costume for her. And she's like, I thought we could wear it down to the ring. And she's getting all, giddy. And she's like, let's go fight these evildoers and this, that. You could be doing fun, quirky backstage segments. You could have been doing that while they were on the bench and getting people to laugh with her. Everybody loved Hurricane because he did this quirky, goofy stuff and he was funny and he was entertaining. And yes, he wasn't treated seriously in the ring, but there's no reason why you couldn't have Nikki be funny and quirky and then have her also be a badass in the ring, because she is. Again, blurred lines. Let's get out of the you're this, or you're this. Look at Big E. He's everything. He's mad when he wants to be mad, when he's supposed to be mad. He's joyful when he's supposed to be joyful. He's a complete clown when he wants to be. He's everything, and he's a fantastic WWE champion. Nikki A.S.H, she could show different kind of levels too. She doesn't have to be, Rhea Ripley's so much bigger and stronger than me, so I must be shit. No, that's not how it works.
All right.
Stop it.
Your 3-minute rant became a 6-minute rant, but that's fine. I know.
This is why the show's 90 minutes every week, because
Becky Lynch defeats Liv Morgan, a very competitive main event. The first time women have main evented Monday Night Raw in quite some time, and a lot of people are making noise about that, celebrating a certain kind of synchronized anniversary with the famous Raw main event with Lita and Trish Stratus back in 2004. So this one lines up. Competitive match. I thought this was a damn good main event for Monday Night Raw. Now, the ratings were rough because they went up against the biggest Monday Night Football game of the year, and they got trounced, which I almost think was expected, but still not great. But, lots of butts. Baby got butts. I thought this was a fun match. Great showing for Liv. Becky Lynch got past her, but the idea is, I think Liv Morgan got a lot out of this, even without, defeating Becky for the title.
Yeah, that was the point. I know a lot of, man, again, I go back on Twitter. I spent too much time on Twitter. But still follow me if you were on Twitter. I do spend a lot of time on Twitter. But I'm seeing so many, because they did that great hype package for Liv Morgan where they took clips from her documentary. One of the more infuriating documentaries you would watch on Peacock if you haven't watched it, just for everything that she's gone through and, the treatment that she's gotten creatively. They pull these clips with her mom and how she, her dad's proud of her and this, that, and everything. They give her this huge hype package and really for the first time, treat her like a damn star that she is. Then she goes out there, her first main event, her first title match ever. She goes out there, she puts on a great match with Becky Lynch. Could it have been better? Yeah, there were a couple little slips here or there. I thought the crowd really disappointed me. I thought they were dead for no reason whatsoever. But
3-hour show.
Whatever, Memphis. Screw you guys. You guys could have got some hype for a really, really good match here.
Come on, where's that Memphis?
And then Becky, there was a moment there at the end I thought Liv was going to get her. I really, really did. And I saw a lot of people before this match going, with everything they just did for Liv, she's got to win it. She's got to win this tonight. They got to win. There's no way that they're going to put this video package up there and not have Liv Morgan win the Raw Women's Championship. And I'm going, guys, you think Becky Lynch is dropping the Raw Women's title on a random Raw in December? You are effing crazy. And that's okay, because now was not the right time for Becky Lynch to drop the Raw Women's Championship. It's just not. She is in this realm of Roman Reigns at this point, where every day that she has been active since WrestleMania 35, she has been the champion. So whomever beats her, whomever finally takes that title off of her, that's a making moment. That should happen at a pay-per-view. That should happen at a big event, not a random event in December where only 1.5 million people watch it. So the timing was not right for Liv Morgan. Should she get another shot? Abso-freaking-lutely. Absolutely. Probably going to happen at day one. You know what? Maybe I'd even push it off. Maybe Liv Morgan wins the Royal Rumble this year, and that progresses her forward. And I think that's where a lot of people get concerned. And that's why people wanted Liv Morgan to win this matchup, because they're like, well, it's WWE. They don't always follow through on this kind of stuff. So maybe this is Liv Morgan's only shot. And it may be, and it shouldn't. And that's where I'm hoping that WWE does follow suit here. But Becky winning was absolutely the right call in the moment, because it wasn't the time to put the title on Liv Morgan. What I will say, though, is I'm getting a little bit tired of Becky rolling up and grabbing the bottom rope to win matches. She's better than that. She shouldn't. I understand protecting Liv Morgan and putting her over in defeat. Oh, Becky had to cheat to beat Liv Morgan. Okay, that's great. I understand that. But she's done it to beat Charlotte. She's done it to beat Bianca. Eventually, Becky Lynch should be, beating people, because she's Becky freaking Lynch and she's better than a lot of people. I hate when they turn people heel and then they always have to cheat to win. Like Roman Reigns should not have to cheat, to beat Finn Balor. He shouldn't have to cheat to beat Kevin Owens or some of these other guys. So, yeah, that kind of thing infuriates me a little bit. I'm a little tired of the super roll up, grab the bottom rope, because how many times sooner or later the ref's got to be like, oh, Becky's near the ropes, she's got to roll up. Got to look for her to grab the arm there. So I think it's a move that they're doing a little too often now.
Xia Li will make her long-awaited debut on SmackDown. They've been really putting the engine behind her as this new character, the Protector, getting animated vignettes, which I think look really great. They look
fantastic.
They look beautiful. Kind of predicting her as kind of like almost like a Batman type character, like an avenging, protecting type superhero, a darker version of what Nikki A.S.H is doing. I thought that was a good take. She will make her debut. You got to talk with her this week. That written interview will be on sportskeeda.com soon.
It's up now.
Okay.
It's up right now. It's up there. Just go to sportskeeda.com, search Xia Li, or you can go to my Twitter page. Go to my Twitter at Ricky Ucchino. It's up there. It's the pinned tweet right now. I got to sit down with her Tuesday night, talk to her for a few minutes. In what I was told was her first English interview she's ever done. So a lot of weight on my shoulders on that one. I thought it went really well. I made her cry, which I have a habit.
What? What did you do, Rick?
I have a habit of doing
what did you do?
She is so sweet, man. She is. I cannot accurately write. And I cannot accurately describe how much Friday night means to her and how hard she has worked for this and the trials and tribulations that she has gone through. And, no article I write, because I'm not that good of a writer, is going to accurately portray that. And I even said that in the article. I was like, look, the range of emotions that she went from jumping up and down and going, SmackDown, yay, I'm so excited, this, that, and the other thing, to, talking about her 5-year journey coming over here. She tried out. Open tryout in China. She was one of 7 signees. She came over, the only woman signee to come over to the United States. She left her entire family behind, her entire life behind in China to come over here, and has gone through developmental, has gone through NXT, and now is finally going to be, debuting on SmackDown, going through all the mental and physical ups and downs, the struggles, the language barrier issues. That's a big thing, which is why we didn't do this on videos, because there is a language.
It's not fair to her. It's not
fair. And there's a lot more that I wish I could have shown from that, because when you see her talk about the 5 years being in the United States, and now she's getting to be on SmackDown, and she's like, her family's going to get to watch her on Fox, and all of the people who have helped her along the way. She had some really great things to say about Sasha Banks as well. That's going to make you appreciate Sasha all that much more as a person, let alone as a performer. Man, I'm rooting for her. I really, really am. She is just a fantastic person from the time that I got to talk with her. I'm really happy that I got that moment to share with her. And yeah, she got very, very emotional talking about what this debut means for her. And I'm looking forward to it. She said this protector character is one that she's had a lot of input on, stuff that she's drawn from her real life. This is her lifestyle on display here. I get a very Kill Bill sense here. It's almost like the bride mixed with Oren Ishii.
I'm down, dude. Love one of the best action movies of all time.
And we want to talk about baby faces. She's the ultimate baby face, the protector, Xia Li. She preys on the vultures and takes out the oppressors. That's what SmackDown freaking needs, baby. Give me that up against Charlotte Flair as opposed to a pie throwing contest. All right. It ain't hard. I'm rooting for her. I'm hoping after everything that she's been through that this main roster run is successful for her, because you have to look at this, by the way. Look where she was drafted, man. She was drafted in the 3rd round on day 2, ahead of people like Finn Balor, ahead of Kevin Owens, ahead of Sami Zayn, ahead of Liv Morgan. Somebody else in the women's division.
WWE when they invest in somebody, people say, oh, they don't really care. They don't. Look at this.
This is a 5-year.
There was a lot of money. You're talking about 4 or 5 different animated things that were done just to prepare for this, and a lot of movement put behind one character. So yeah, I like it. The promos were great. They did one last week where she was like getting like assaulted at like a park or something like that.
The armed robbers. Yeah,
it was really cool.
It was really, really great storytelling, and I'm excited.
They did some of this with Malachi before he went over to AEW.
Right, exactly.
But I hope it isn't the same way. Right now, I'm on the ride. I enjoy it. I want to see the protector. I want to see it.
Yeah, I'm like I said, after getting to talk with her for 10 minutes, again, the article's up now. You can read some of her quotes there. But man, I wish I could have done a better job of portraying, the emotion that she had there. That was good stuff.
Let's get into this. WWE is obviously gone on some massive structural changes with the releases. That wasn't just we're letting people go. And no. They're doing something with a completely different new approach and swerving their focus towards getting younger talent that relates to a younger audience on camera. All right. And getting people that maybe are slightly a couple years younger than some teenagers now, and making those teenagers who are 15 or 16 a new generation of WWE fans. And this is in play with recent changes in college sports and how those athletes are regulated within Division I, Division II schools. And this is the name and likeness law that has changed now that allows college athletes to sell their name and likeness and do endorsements and do different things. There's been some college athletes now who can sign a deal with Gatorade or Nike and make significant amounts of money before they ever get to the major level of sports, and also, pay for their college education and have a lifestyle that is appropriate with their notoriety. SP3 is jumping in.
Hang on. No. Just wait. Just let him
finish my topic here?
Yeah. We'll finish this topic. He's tagging in for the next topic here.
Okay, cool. So it's very interesting here. Crop of different people. I'm not going to go into their individual names. They did bring in a new pair of twins, the Cavender twins, who are in a basketball program, who have 3.8 million followers on social media, who are already kind of social media darlings. Everyone's saying they're going to have new Bella twins and all this different stuff. They have a 7'5", 400-pound lineman from a college program. So you have some people that are opting to sign with WWE as a plan for after college, then the NFL, which is kind of surprising that WWE is doing. What do you think of this? This is a different thing for WWE to do. It's a much more open, transparent way of saying we're recruiting from colleges right now.
It's smart. It's brilliant. And anybody who says that that WWE is wrong in doing this, or this program is going to fail, you're not paying attention to where WWE superstars come from.
Yeah.
I saw somebody on Twitter. Again, this is like my third example of why social media sucks today. But I saw somebody hit up Alex McCarthy of TalkSport and say that this program sucks. Come on, Alex. Alex was putting over the next in line program is what they're calling it. Another name for NIL. Alex was putting it over. is a good idea. Says really cool. And this guy's like, Alex, this is crap, man. This isn't gonna work. You're on the wrong team, brother, man. This is this, that, and the other thing. And I was just like, what the hell are you talking about? And I chimed in and I'm like, oh, so this program's a bad idea. It's gonna fail, right? Like, man, you know what, man? You might be right. You might be right. I can't think of one collegiate athlete who came into WWE and became a star.
Like who though?
Other than The Rock, other than Kurt Angle,
oh,
other than Roman Reigns,
oh,
Big E,
oh,
Bianca Belair,
oh,
Brock Lesnar,
oh,
and about 3 dozen others. This is exactly where WWE superstars come from. This is a brilliant idea. And the fact that you can, it's recruiting is what it is. It's college level recruiting. It's, you can pay these kids to be your next superstars. You're already bringing in, I don't know their actual names, so I'm calling them the Bella Twins 2.0. You can bring them in who have 3.8 million followers, people who are already popular, people whose journey they will follow in WWE and want to see them in NXT or whatever brand shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Bring in these world-class athletes who maybe you can groom to become superstars. People like Braun Strowman. This is exactly what they did. They brought in this huge monster of a man, this athlete, and they turned him into a world champion. This is what WWE does. Do you also have these people like CM Punk and Johnny Gargano and Daniel Bryan who come from the indie scene and are world-class professional wrestlers and have been training for 10 years to do this? Yes, but it's not the only place that you get your talent. This is a really smart, a really, really cool thing that WWE is doing. And, you know, not everyone is going to pan out, be successful at this.
No.
But even if they get 2 or 3 superstars.
That's everything in life, though. It's everything in life.
This is WWE investing in the next generation of top-level superstars. I don't agree with everything that they're doing, and I think that they really sacrificed a lot of the now before the future was ready.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because now you're running into these issues on SmackDown, especially now with Jeff Hardy being gone. You don't have a lot of challengers for Roman Reigns. It would have been really smart to hang on to some of the talent you let go, but they're building for the future. They obviously have a plan in place. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what some of these people can do. Now, speaking of the future, speaking of the future of wrestling, all I'm going to say is one thing and one thing only, and I'm going to let my man SP3 run loose.
Mm-hmm.
They're sending Hook, my man. They're sending him down.
Hashtag Hook Gang. I am here because they said send for Hook. So the #1 hooker on wrestling YouTube had to speak. I had people tagging me on social media, telling me that they could hear me pop when that announcement happened, when they announced the debut, the pro wrestling debut of a future AEW world champion, a future AEW TNT champion, a future FTW champion, a future AEW world tag team champion with Ricky Starks or Powerhouse Hobbs, America's heartthrob, America's heartthrob, Hook. Like guys, like you know.
Yes, this is following up news. Hook, the son of Taz, who has been present on AEW television for over a year, but is not. He's gotten physical, you know, and he's taken bumps and stuff like that. But he hasn't wrestled a match, hasn't even done anything on Dark. But his debut match will be on cable television against Fuego del Sol. This will be his debut. He is quite the social media darling. Says very, very little, but has some very vocal fans behind him and has created a little bit of buzz here. Sid, explain it to me. I watch AEW. I enjoy it. You're saying Hooker stand up. What is the appeal with this guy? And where is this? Is it just a meme thing? Explain it to me.
It's the hair.
You know,
it's the hair.
You know, the 80s.
How many? Let's be frank. How many younger fans attracted to a handsome guy with cotton candy soft hair coming out there and abs that you could, you know, grind a piece of soap on, right? Like, so how many fans who are turning in, you know, for Macaroni in the Pot, as one of the greatest artists of our time has said, are tuning in just because they want to see themselves a dreamboat?
Like, the 80s had Corey Feldman. They had the introduction. They had Zach Morris, Mike Seaver. The 90s. I mean, 90s had a bunch of them. The 90s had Luke Perry. Luke Perry. Luke Perry was America's heartthrob. Dylan McKay. Everybody wanted a little bit of the Dylan McKay. The 2000s,
Beverly Hills 902. Whoa.
The 2000s.
Hey, by the way, his son is already in AEW.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of people that like him just because he looks good. A lot of people like him.
Had Chad Michael Murray. You don't know if you remember that name, Chad Michael Murray.
It's a deep reference there.
Deep cut right there. But 2021, 2022, until 2042, until he's the old Hook, the old man Hook, where he's coming out with the no hand.
When he actually has a hook.
The peg, yeah, he got the peg, and he's gonna come out with the wig and stuff. He's
still
gonna get eaten by a crocodile.
Still hot though. I mean, like he'll have a hook hand, but still gorgeous.
I'm just so excited. There's not that many stars that come into professional wrestling that just have that it factor. I think that's
what is it though? Like, what is the appeal?
You can't say what it is. No one knows what it is, but you know when they have it.
Exactly. You can identify it factor when you see it. You can't define it.
All
right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. You know what I mean? But is it just something where they've waited so long for this that it's like if they just did this 9 months ago and people were starting to like meme the Hook name and say Hooker stand up and all the different things you're saying, right? Because AEW is very social media influenced, like a lot, a lot, right?
Because they listen to their fan base.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm laying the circumstances out for somebody who's just like, what is the appeal? That's all I'm saying. You know, I'm not saying he's not going to be a success or I don't want him to be a success. I'm just saying, tell it to me. You know, like sell it to me. And you're selling me that people are just into him. I want to know what the appeal is. You know,
here's what I will hope. Here's what I hope for the sake of Sid, for the sake of the entire internet, and for the sake of Hook himself. I hope he can go. I don't know if he can actually wrestle, but if he goes out there and it's a stinker on Friday, oof.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like he probably has unnecessary pressure on him that somebody wouldn't have debuting in this. It's hard enough to be the son of a great wrestler, right? And debut. Now you have to be the son of a great wrestler and have this meme-ified, social media, just everyone pile on thing that a lot of people all love to do, right? That's the thing. It's a thing. It's part of it, right? And now you have to fulfill on just not just one fold, but another one. It's challenging.
I mean, the best way I can describe this is, like you said, a lot of people have come into professional wrestling, have been the son of professional wrestlers, and there's even some on national TV currently. Hook, in over a year, by just standing there in a white beater and sneakers, has shown thousands more charisma than Dominic Mysterio being an in-ring competitor on WWE for over the past year.
Can you give me 1 second? I'm going to bring you right back here in 1 second. 1 second. Just give me 1 second. I just need to take you to stay right there. Rick, what the hell is he saying right now? What the hell is he saying right now? You bring him in on this unscheduled segment? All right, hang on. No, Sid, why don't you finish your point? Go ahead there, bud.
Here's the thing, man. He ain't wrong.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. Like, I respect Dominic Mysterio. I think he's actually very serviceable for where he is in his career in the ring. But as far as charisma, you either got it or you don't. And so far, Hook has shown more of that. I don't know what he's going to do.
I don't know how this little segment started with taking a shot at the guy who had one of the best debuts last year. He did. He
had a best debut because he got his ass kicked.
Exactly.
It was great though.
That was an in-ring match. There was nothing about the build-up or anything that they did.
You're saying pure character.
That he had to show any character or charisma.
Yes. I see what you're saying.
Or poise.
But that isn't something he has to do, now.
More people talked about his sister than him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. But if you're going into Friday with the expectations that you're going to see Hook be a 5-star competitor, I guarantee you no one that is a Hook fan is going in expecting him to have a great match or show that he is a good wrestler or can go against Fuego del Sol in what will possibly be a 3-minute match. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that.
Maybe 35 seconds.
Yeah, it might be that.
He might kick Fuego in the face and then put him in a submission hold, and that might be it. Like, in all seriousness, it might be 2 moves and done. it might still be a little bit before we see, Hook actually go in a wrestling ring.
All I want to see is that pitch perfect dragon sleeper that he gave to CM Punk a couple of months back, or I want to see the Kataha Jamain. I want to see that. Yes. Yes.
Go to sleep.
Well, that was it. I just wanted to bring in our main Hooker correspondent, SP3, to close out the show here, because that is going to be a big moment. There's a lot of people who are excited. Hook was trending last night. I know a lot of people are excited, but I'm intrigued. I haven't fallen in love with the man like 50% of the wrestling world has. But I'm intrigued by him. I'm not against.
I'm not deterred. I just don't get
why
this guy.
I definitely do agree with Sid. There is something about him that is.
There is something there, but for me, it's like, let me see it play out first.
Yeah.
It's been for me that you've been doing a trailer for a movie for a year. so all right, is you gonna live up to the hype? That's fair. I'm just being objective. There's tons of things in All Elite Wrestling I know are great, and that's why I'm going to tune in.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that I don't understand, and maybe I'm missing something here. But Taz last night, before he made the announcement, was talking about how he was pissed off that Dante Martin, swerved him, and this, that, and the other thing. And he's like, "So we're sending Hook against Fuego." How does that make it?
Because this is his debut. They're sending out a warning. Like they're putting Hook in the ring.
You're gonna make an example out of him.
Exactly.
Okay.
What you thought was just the muscle or the looks, whichever you're here.
It's more looks than muscle, but I'm not saying
he's got both.
He's ripped.
He's got both. He's ripped.
You see that render? He's ripped.
Oh man, and you see those trunks? Oh my god, the trunks! I can't wait for this entrance. I saw a glimpse of it on social media yesterday. I can't wait for it. I'm gonna be tweeting out all capital letters for the entire 3 minutes that he is in the ring.
This might be the must-watch edition of Smack Talk tomorrow night. Or tonight, depending on where, or maybe it already happened, depending on when you're watching. 11:05 Friday
Sid,
night.
You are rolling the dice if he goes out here, and this is just a thing.
SP3 is going to. I know it's all about Dutch on this show, but we're gonna have to carve out 10 minutes for SP3 to just give us his full Hooker breakdown.
I'll have better signs too. I'll make better signs. I'll get markers.
Just go to Kinko's. Is Kinko still a thing? I don't even know.
Legit, I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, learn from me. All right, how to be, a good hooker and a good husband, because learn from my example. Because when they made that announcement of Hook debuting on Rampage, I popped so loud. My wife was like, you're sleeping on the couch tonight because you woke up the kids. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I'm here, and this is why I represent.
Sid, man, you got to learn the silent cheer, man.
I have learned it. I've been doing it for 21, 22 months now.
Both of you guys are fathers, right? And I'm just a child myself, right? But I do Rick will appreciate this. We're an hour plus in. I can do this. So I'm on this microphone almost 24/7. Almost 24/7. Rick knows I do radio 5 days a week. I was trying to do radio earlier today, so when we had to do our thing, right? But I have a roommate who has heard me say the phrase 1049 the X 1,500 times right through this wall. He's heard me say, you just heard Pearl Jam. And he's like, I never want to hear Pearl Jam again. So I can imagine the domestic unrest that you have unfolded upon yourself with the debut of young Taz Jr. Hook. So let's. I think I like the idea that some fans just say we're just going to get behind this guy because we want to get behind him, And we've seen that happen in WWE, and someone benefits from it eventually. Zack Ryder found a way to make an audience get behind him and has made something out of it. So my thing is, I just want to see it live up to the hype. Let's just live up to the hype. That's all I'm saying.
Real quick, I just got to say, I will never forget WrestleMania 35, 1:00 in the morning, Monday. My girl, Becky Lynch, in the main event, and I have a 6-month-old daughter who is sleeping 20 feet behind me. Believe you me, I had to master the silent scream that night, okay? It also helped that I was not 100% sold that was the actual finish. So I'm kind of more like, what the fuck? That was it. And then I'm like, oh my God, that was fucking it. Anyway, so
I mean, I did the silent scream for Danielson and Cole's debut and the Punk debut. So, the announcement of Hook debut, and I was due one. I was due one of those.
When Edge came back at the Royal Rumble, I slipped. And Sarah was sleeping on the couch. She was taking a nap, and she woke up to me, and she just shot daggers at me. And she's like, your daughter wakes up. I don't give a damn about this. You're back there. I'm like, she's good. She's got her sound machine on. It's fine. Let me enjoy this. Enjoy it.
Yeah, my wife blames me for not liking wrestling anymore. So
if you haven't done already, if you're watching the video version of it, maybe you're an audio person as well, you can subscribe to the Sportskeeda Wrestling podcast feed, available on Apple, Spotify, all the different apps. On that feed, just like you have in our video channels, you're getting Dutch Mantel every Friday night with Rick and Sid covering SmackDown and Rampage. You get Bro Vince Russo covering Monday Night Raw every Monday night, plus exclusive interviews. We may have one with a big WWE name in the next week or two. Keep an eye on that. Plus, you have our top story of the day 5 days a week. So literally hours of audio, just like we have video on that channel as well. Thank you to people who put us on the charts in Canada, in the Philippines, in Great Britain, and of course in the United States. We're so thankful for you guys for doing that too. If you're listening, go ahead and give us a 5-star review as well. And if you're watching on all the different video apps, hit the like button, subscribe. We're marching towards 24,000. It'd be great if we get to 25,000 before the end of the year on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to us there as well. And everyone on Facebook, I know a lot of people watching on Facebook as well. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for enjoying the show here. You can follow them, gentlemen. Do your pluggy plugs.
Oh yeah, at Rick Ucchino, RICKUCCHINO on the Twitter machine, and yeah, that's where I'm at. Check out my interview with Xia Li, print only, up on Sportskeeda Wrestling, not the YouTube channel, up on Sportskeeda.com. No video on this one, just print only. It's pinned on my social media page on Twitter, so go check that out, please.
Yeah, you can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHeelSP3. You could also see me on Wrestling Daily YouTube channel every Monday and Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. UK, and the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. That's the home base every Saturday, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time, our weekly podcast. And of course, Smack Talk right here on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel and my written work on Sportskeeda.com.
If you want to see his hooker review, tomorrow night, 11:05, Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Be there.
Hooker Central. Hooker Central.
Limited puns, but everyone's still enjoying it. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. You watched nearly an hour and 20 minutes of us chatting about wrestling. I am thankful you spent that time with us. That is something we don't take for granted. Thank you so much. We hope you guys are staying safe. Get your booster shots. Take your test. Be safe with the holidays coming up yet. We have a lot of great content coming for you guys before the end of the year and a whole lot more after that. So remember, when you come to us, we're fans just like you. Get on the old virtual couch with Sportskeeda Wrestling. The seat's always warm for you. And remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing, which is what? Rick Ucchino.
Enjoy Hook.
Hooker, stand up!
All right. We'll see you guys. We'll see you.